What's good with you, baby?
Man, another day in the life. Can't complain too much.
Understood. Introduce yourself to everybody. Let them know who you are, my man.
Well, my name is Stan Smith. I'm a dog trainer at Iron Sharp K9. I've been training for about 6 years, and we do pet obedience to working dogs.
So what dogs y'all usually work with? Is it a specific breed, or is it something that y'all just, every dog is a good dog?
Every dog is a good dog in their own way. Let's say that. But we work with Chihuahuas, we work with Great Danes, and everything in between. So if you want to get your dog out here, we can bring the best out of your dog. It's not to say that every dog is going to be the creme de la creme, but we can get something out of your dog, and especially we're going to have a better relationship after working with us and your dog.
Even though every dog's not a creme de la creme, what would be considered a good dog in your standards, for your eyes?
I mean, it's going to be more for what the handler wants versus what I want, because what I want my dogs to do is going to be something completely different than what somebody else does. So a good dog to me is a dog that wants to work, whether it's working for food, whether it's working for a tug, or whether it's working for affection. So a good dog is going to be a dog that wants to do something for their owner.
I found you on the street because I seen you walking one of your trained dogs at a bar, and it was sitting there. If I wanted to approach you safely, how can I approach you and ask you, how can I get my dog to do like that?
The way I train my dogs, I wouldn't want you to come up and try to grab me and, get my attention or anything like that. Just let yourself be known. Hey, I got a question for you about dogs. You got a second? 9 times out of 10, it'll be like, yeah, what's up?
You've been doing, I'm guessing this Iron Sharp sign, correct?
Iron Sharp K9, yeah.
Iron Sharp K9, I'm sorry. Iron Sharp K9, y'all been in business, or you yourself, you've been doing it for 6 years, correct?
No, so we just started Iron Sharp last year. But I've been training in the dog world for about 6 years now.
Do you have a favorite dog or breed you like to work with more than the others?
I mean, I like the pit bull. I mean, they're built like tanks. They can do everything, and then they actually have an off switch. They'll chill, they'll lay down, they'll do what you need them to do. But when you turn them on, they're turned on. So that's my favorite dog. But I mean, again, it's just whatever dog that wants to work. We've gotten some really amazing things out of just some good old mutts. There's a dog named Buster. He's Heinz 57. He's pit bull mixed with something else, and he was handled by, at the time, a 16-year-old girl, and we had that dog doing. My biggest viewed video is 8.3 million on TikTok, and it's with this mutt and a 16-year-old girl. So they did the time, they put the work in, and they got that dog to the point where his control is amazing, his bite work is amazing, and they just have that bond in a relationship. So the breed of the dog, yes, it matters. Yes, it has weight and, genetics here. But at the end of the day, heart is one thing that you can't really measure. And if that dog has that heart and that want to with their handler, they're going to do amazing things.
So, as far as training goes, is there like a specific time frame y'all want them ready, or is it just each dog may be different?
So I mean, it's like anything. The earlier you start, the more you can learn. But that's not a be-all, end-all. That's not a be-all, end-all, because I started training Rocco when he was 2 years old, and he picked up on everything really, really quickly. But we had a bond in a relationship. So when I started training him, he already did certain things. He was athletic. He liked me. He wanted to go with me. So then when we got some direction, it was easier to make him or want him to do things that we wanted when we had an idea. But Jamil's been working with Creed since he's been 6 weeks old, and there's things that Creed's doing that Rocco isn't doing because he's never gotten to get a bad habit. He only knows how to do it one way. So the earlier you start them, you can get them to be this way without having to go through the bad parts. They're picking up bad habits and stuff like that. But again, the best time to start working your dog is today.
I've seen on a couple of TV shows, mostly through social media, I've seen animals running, I guess they're called trials, I don't really know, but they wound up running like a big open field, and they wound up barking at people, and they run and jump through hoops and stuff like that. What exactly is something like that, and are your dogs capable of doing that if I were to bring it to you?
Yeah, so I mean, there's different sports. I mean, there's PSA, there's Schutzhund, there's French Ring, Mondio Ring, K9 Street League, various stuff that people are going to be doing with their dogs. And it's just a certification system. The dog is going to get trialed on their obedience, their control, and then their bite work. At the end of the day, it's all about communication. And yes, we can get your dog there. If you know the rules, you know what you want your dog to do, we can work to that point to get there.
So is that like a sport, or is that like a like a cult? Is that what you want to say? Because I mean, I see them on social media and even on TV, and like all the dogs look the same, the handlers look the same outside of the different sizes. So is it like a sport like like boxing or fishing or football, or is this like a one size fit all for just one individual?
I mean, it's a sport at the end of the day. It's just like basketball, it's just like football, baseball. All of the players are going to look similar. But that just doesn't mean that you're not going to have a Muggsy Bogues or you're not going to have a Steph Curry. That is not necessarily what a basketball player should look like, but they can still hoop with the best of them if you can bring it out of them. It's easier to get certain dogs to do certain behaviors because, again, that's what they were bred for. They're going to be more handler oriented, the shepherds. They're going to listen to people more versus the bully breeds that have they were bred to do stuff on their own, so they're not listening to somebody tell them, hey, go this way or go that way. They were bred to, get a bull or to do some other type of work where they're going to have to basically, they're more independent, because if you listen to somebody telling you how to fight a bull that has horns and they're telling you to go left and the bull's like, yeah, go left, and you listen to them and you don't make it. So yeah, it's easier if the dogs are, bred for this thing, but that doesn't mean that an anomaly can't happen.
So in your line of work, how many times do anomalies happen? Let's say somebody brought in like a schnauzer. Is that animal capable of doing what it's supposed to do? Are the animals like sized up pound for pound, or are they breed for breed, kind of like the Westminster Killer stuff? Is it like that, or is they just free for all?
I think it's more of a free for all. If your dog can do the what is qualified for their certification, you can put your dog in it. But it's going to be easier for a 60 to a 70 pound dog to jump through a window versus a 110, 150 pound Great Dane or anything like that. Because, it's just physics at that point. If they only have this much room to go through and the dog's this big, they're just not going to be able to fit. So, yes, it's easier to have the dogs that are designed for it, but you can do it without it. It's just going to be a little bit more fine-tuning and getting them more precise.
So for what I understand, I'm just coming from a social media aspect, so forgive me for being green. I'm used to what I'm seeing online. I think it's like a PSA. That's mostly what animals actually refers to, where they kind of travel in certain spots and they hop through fences and cars. For PSA, is there like levels to get to a certain height, and then if you get to that certain height, do you win like $1,000 prize or something like that? What is it so important about that, as far as what I'm able to see from online?
So I'm still learning myself about it, but it's Protection Sports Association, and there's different levels. There's a PDC, which is an entry level. It's on leash. There's certain pressure that's put on a dog at this level, and then there's level 1, level 2, and a level 3. And as it goes up, the dogs have to do more complicated things, whether it's going to be more decoys on the field, whether it's more distractions, whether it's further sins. It gets harder as you go up. And you have to get, I think, 2 legs at each level to pass. And it has to be like over 80% or something like that. Again, I'm still learning the rules of it. But it's basically you get graded on certain things, and you have to pass that grade before you can go on to the next one. And it takes, I think you can start your dog at 18 months, and then trials are like every 6 months or something like that. And it's just going to be how much time you want to put in to get your dog to the final level.
So you say you're still learning what this is, so I'll be under the impression that you must have a mentor.
Yeah, I'd say I have a mentor.
Interesting. So your mentor, he or she is able to guide you in what this here levels are?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's done it with, I think, 1 or 2 dogs, and he's done Mondio rings, so he's been in various sports. So he's been able to show us different techniques on outing the dogs, different techniques on getting them to bite certain places, just how to communicate better with your dog as somebody who's been through it. Because a lot of this stuff, even somebody who's been doing this 20 years, it's all new. Every dog's going to be different. Just because the technique worked with every dog for the last 19 years doesn't mean that it's going to work with this one dog. But you can put different tips that you learn off of this dog with this dog, and it's just going to make it easier to communicate going forward. So yeah, I would definitely, a mentor is very important in this world because it's going to be an outside eyes looking in on stuff that can improve you. And everybody's not your mentor. Just because somebody's giving you dog advice or saying something about your dog, that doesn't mean they're your mentor. You want somebody who really is going to mean well for you and your dog, and is going to put their ego aside and really genuinely want to help you get better, and not basically trying to put you down to make themselves feel better. Because there's a lot of that in this dog world.
So coming off of that statement right there, it sounds as if you're telling me that in this particular field, like every other field, that sounds like politics.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a lot of politics that are involved in and stuff, and I think there's just been like a negative connotation on things that this person has to be bad for like me to be good, versus this motherfucker's a bad trainer, this dog's a bad dog. Like, everybody can be bad at what they're, bad at. And when I say bad, I mean good. But it's just gonna be egos, insecurities, whatever it is, that people have to downplay what somebody else is doing to make themselves feel better about whatever they're doing.
Outside of the egos, from a bad owner to having a good dog, have you ever seen a dog carry the owner to where you like, I can kind of tell the owner was kind of brand new with this here, but that dog seemed to be a special dog, and it's kind of carrying over without the owner or the handler being that good, and he feels that he's the reason for this? Are you able to tell?
Yeah, I mean, from personal experience, Rocco, I mean, my personal dog, I was green before I started training with him, had no experience, did nothing with a dog. I actually had a dog get hit by a car, and Rocco was just special. He just did stuff, and he wanted to do those things for me. So when we started learning, okay, he had to go jump over a 6-foot fence. I got him to the point where he did that. Like, now he'll do it on and on and on. And that goes back to the bond that I had with Rocco. He always just wanted to do stuff for me. So if you have a dog that wants to do stuff for you, they're going to be more willing to. And yes, they can take you to places where an inexperienced or a very experienced handler can take a lesser dog and do more with him. Chief and Stevie are a good example. Chief is a really good dog, and he's teaching her how to handle when this is her first dog she's ever really handled. And she's been coming out since I think it was like May, and they went from the point where Chief didn't know anything and Stevie didn't know anything to now they're doing competitional focus healing. We're figuring out the outs. We're going to start working on return to heels. It's just building that masterpiece that you want, and it doesn't happen overnight. Again, it takes time, it takes effort. She literally comes out twice a week. We spend about an hour to 2 hours working, and then she goes home, and I'll get videos 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night. Hey, look, I'm doing my healing stuff, and it's like, all right, try this. And then she goes home and sends me the videos. Hey, is this how I do it? And it's just, you can have a really good dog, but you have to have a handler who wants to put in the work, because I've seen IPO3 dogs that don't have really good handlers and they don't listen. So yeah, you can have an exceptional dog, but it takes a handler that wants to put in the time and have that bond with the dog to bring the best out of them.
If I'm an individual who doesn't have time and I'm more of a like right now type person, I heard you say it takes time, but if I wanted my dog to be, what's the highest level? Is that what, 2, 3, 1?
It just depends on what you're going to be doing, but 3 is usually the highest of any sports.
If I wanted my dog to be a level 3, and I came to you and said, I need this dog at a level 3 in 2 weeks. Can we get this done?
I'll look at your message, or I'll look at you and be like, I think you need to go find somebody else. Just because, I mean, there's no fast track to this. There's no cheat codes. There's no speeding it up. Even if you have all of the knowledge, all of the experience, the best of the best dog, you still have to wait till that dog either grows up. You still have to wait till that dog goes through those situations, and you have to teach them on the levels. You can't have a finished dog when they don't even know the step one that they're trying to do. So there's no fast track to it. If somebody wants it quick, I mean, those are the kind of people that I don't really like to deal with, just because they're always going to be having some unrealistic expectation. But it doesn't mean that it's going to take a year. It doesn't mean that it's going to take 2 years to get that. If you put in the work, you can get the dog that you want. And I mean, I think it takes about 90 days to really find out how far you can really take that dog. And then some dogs, you start with them, the first week they're going slow, they're not doing nothing, and then 2 weeks in, you're like, all right, we need to teach this dog how to out, because now he's going in and he's getting to the point where he's turned up. So every dog's different. There's not a one size fits all. There's never a quick path to it, and you got to put in the time. You got to put in the time. You got to put in the time.
So it sounds like it's pretty much hard work and not Instagram quickly. It ain't 15 seconds I can have this dog ready. Huh?
I mean, it's quality work, so it's not necessarily hard, but if the dog's doing positive reps and they're understanding it and you build every time that you work with that dog, yeah, it does start expediting the process, but there's no exchange for it. You got to make sure you put that dog in situations. You got to show them the positive way to do it and then be able to correct them in a manner that they understand. And you don't want to correct the dog for something that they don't understand, because now they're going to start resenting doing the behavior for you. Versus if you put them in situations, make them successful, and then when they decide to mess up in a situation, you can correct that behavior, and the dog's like, well, all right, I know I was speeding, I got my speeding ticket, now I got to handle the consequences.
What is the purpose of a protection dog? I mean, from the outside looking in, if I had came and got one of your top dogs and anybody's top dogs for protection, will I be able to utilize this dog myself the way that you're doing it, even if you teach me?
I mean, my personal dogs are not going to work for somebody else like they would for me, just because, again, it goes back to that bond and that relationship. But what we tell people that, if we train a dog for somebody, we say, hey, 2 weeks, don't ask nothing of this dog. Just buddy up, build a bond, build a relationship. And then once they trust you, once they understand that you're good for them, then you start asking them to, protect or be there for you. Because, again, if I just meet somebody on the street, I may not risk myself for them like I would for somebody I've known for a good amount of time. So it's just the quality of the relationship that goes down to the end of the day. I mean, I've seen dogs that are, really, really high level, and they don't really like their handler, and they get an opportunity to run away or bite when they're not supposed to or whatever it is, and they take that opportunity when they can. So bond. The relationship that you have with your dog is just, I think it's the most important thing in this game, because the dog that wants to work for you is going to be more willing to do anything that you ask them to.
So what's the benefits of having a well-trained dog?
Benefits of having a well-trained dog, you have a dog that's going to be safe. Whether it's a dog that knows when, where, and how to bite, or if it's a dog that simply knows when you tell them, come here, or you blow a whistle, that they should stop doing whatever they're doing and return back to you. What got me into dog training is I had a dog get hit by a car. So I don't ever want that to happen again. And if my dog would have had a downstay, or if my dog would have had a recall before, I would have been able to call him back to me or stop his behavior and being able to go put him on a leash or grab his collar or whatever, and I'd still have my dog to that day. But he didn't have any obedience. He didn't have any training, so it was just kind of a free-for-all. And, when you're hoping, hope isn't very good, because you can hope for the best, but the worst kind of happens.
If I was to have a well-obedient dog, would it be able to still be social with other animals if I wanted to take it to like a dog park, or is it more like a one, just a protection only?
A great working dog, a great protection dog is going to be a dog you can take everywhere. Because, again, if that dog has to stay in a crate, if that dog can't be in public with you, it can't do its job when it need be. So I don't necessarily want my dogs to just be like, oh my God, there's another dog, let me go play with them. But I need my dog to, if they're in a downstay and another dog walks by, they can acknowledge, but I told them to be in a downstay, so they should follow the instructions that were given versus going to do whatever they want to do. I don't allow my dogs to just have free play with other dogs. I have multiple dogs, so they interact with each other. My shepherd, she's really good social. I socialized her specifically for those things, so she's good with other dogs. But she lets them know when she's had enough as well. So I think it's just going to have a good temperament. It keeps your dog safe. You're able to go a lot more places with them, and you can do more things without having to be worried. Like, I don't want to be sitting somewhere and somebody walks behind me and my dog was like, oh, I got to defend you. Ah! And it's like, dude, he was just like scooching by. He wasn't even worried about us. So it's a lot safer to have a dog that knows what they're supposed to be doing than a dog that doesn't know what they're supposed to be doing, because, again, it's just going to keep them safer. Like, I got kids. I don't need my dogs being off the handle, biting everything that they want to do, but I need my dogs to know that if they need to do something, that, hey, go do something the best of your ability.
So with me having a well-trained animal, I know there's no certainty with having a well-trained animal, but what would I do in like an accidental situation?
I mean, that's where either your recall command or your negative reinforcement command is going to come in handy. So your no, your nines, your fooies, whatever you say to your dog to not do something, that's going to be really important. But they have to understand that when you give them that command, that it means something. A lot of people are telling their dog no, and then a lot of people are saying stuff to their dog, but there's no action behind it, so the dog starts understanding that it's just a warning. They don't have to really listen. They can pick and choose when they want to, and it's just going to be setting your dog up in so many different situations that you can think of and making them successful in those situations. So we'll have people come up and walk behind you. We'll have other dogs present. We'll try to set them up in anything that we can think is going to happen to show them the positive way and then correct them if they do act negatively in that. Because like you said, they are living, breathing, thinking. They have a mind for themselves. We can only try to influence their behavior as much as possible.
For you being a trainer, what will be the difference between negative reinforcement and positive reinforcement as far as the time frame that it takes to get it done?
There's not really like a time frame. Every dog is going to be different again. So I like to start with if a dog wants to take something from me, and I want them to understand that there's good things that happen from me, and I want them to know how to get paid, and I want them to know when they're messing up. So when they do mess up, you can put the prong collar on, you can put the E's, the stems, whatever you're going to use to correct your dog. But I want to make sure that dog understands exactly what's expected from them. So if it's a recall, I want you to come here and sit down. So I'll break those into 2 steps so that dog understands, all right, I'm supposed to come and sit. I'm supposed to come and sit. Not just come and pick and choose. No, you got to come and be in this physical position, and that's how you get your reward. So then when you ask that dog, hey, come over here, and they don't do that, there is some type of correction, and they're like, all right, let me go over here and do what I'm supposed to do. But it's not really a time thing. It's more of a feel and how fast that dog understands. I've had dogs that I've had in a 2-week board and train, and I've had them for 11 and a half days, and they hadn't sat once for me. And then day 13, they're doing everything perfect. So it's just finding the relationship with the dog, and they'll start presenting that behaviors. And when they do, you just got to mark it, letting them know it's like Super Bowl Sunday. This is the greatest thing that you ever did. And then they're like, I can do it again. Is that still great? And you're like, yeah. So it's just finding that balance between, being that dictator military and just being that dog's buddy, the fur mom, world of the dog game.
What would happen? I did like a 6-week boarding training, but I needed it in like 3 or 4 weeks because I was going out of town. Even though the dog doesn't have everything under control, will it still be manageable until I'm able to bring it back to you?
Not to toot my own horn, but I think your dog is going to be better after spending any amount of time with me, just because we're going to break things down to that dog. And they may not be finished, but they're going to have more of a communication between what's expected of certain things. And if you do the things that you need to keep that dog sharp, keep them in line, they will fall back into it when we pick back up or when we resume the training afterwards.
Well, I appreciate you letting me know what that is, man. I'm glad you was able to sit down and give me information I did not know. So give me who you are, and also how can someone reach out to you if they wanted to work with you.
Again, my name is Stan Smith. Iron Sharp K9 is our dog training business. Instagram, it's IamStan90. TikTok, same thing. YouTube is Iron Sharp K9. Facebook is Stan Smith. IronSharpK9.com is the webpage, and my cell phone number is 817-781-2224. Hit me up. Let me know what we can do to assist you in your dog training journey.